For the U.S. and China to end up in a conflictual situation would require simultaneously on both sides incredible levels of stupidity that I think is beyond us. I don't think we're capable of that degree of simultaneous stupidity. I had spent weeks with young counterpart on the Chinese side, trying to identify specific questions that we had to address if we were indeed going to resume. An example. If Chinese students come to the United States, can they have a bank account? We were acting sort of as the proxy for state and private universities. We were ready to go, on both sides, we were ready to go by October of 1978. And we expected it to be announced in October. Restoration of academic exchanges was to be the leading edge that would open up for normalization. That was the theory. And I was checking in with our liaison office every day as we worked our way through the remaining questions. After 4 days, I reported, I said, we're done. There are no issues. Both sides agree there are no issues. I can sign this thing. Should I do it? And it's a little more complicated, but the answer was yes. And the official one did not get signed until after the third plenum. My conclusion as to why that happened, it wasn't that the negotiations broke down. It was because if there was an announcement of reestablishment of academic exchanges, that would have telegraphed that China and the United States were going to exchange diplomatic recognition 2 months ahead of the third plenum. And the Chinese side, in my view, decided it didn't want to telegraph that, wanted to save that for the plenum. But the first students were in the United States on the Stanford campus on November 12th, or did not wait for normalization. China's rise has not been to the disadvantage of the United States. 1979, the U.S. accounted for about 26% of the world economy. Now, 40 years later, the U.S. share of the world economy has declined. We're all the way down to about 23%. But we are not disadvantaged. China has tremendous increases in per capita GDP, from about $600 to about $9,000 in current dollars. We went from 12,000 to 58,000 per capita. We've got a huge distribution problem in the United States. Our country has become much wealthier. Our people have not. And that's a political problem for us. But we're not worse off than we were. We're better off because a more prosperous China buys more of the high-end stuff that we make. China's increased capacity on almost every dimension is not incompatible with American interests and objectives. I don't think there's any alternative to engagement. Comprehensive engagement. You can't communicate, you can't maintain or forge new ties among new groups. You're not positioned to deal with the new problems that inevitably come up, whether they are bilateral problems, regional problems, global problems. Rules for space, rules for cyber, rules for international financial flows. Hugely important, totally unstructured in there. Combating disease, combating climate control. There's no important issue that you can think of that can be solved by China alone, America alone. But there's also no conceivable solution without basic cooperation between the two big players. It was a very conscious aspect of policy on the U.S. side to develop as many connections as possible. Bureaucracy to bureaucracy, company to company, people to people, school to school. The idea was to build a relationship that had so many strands that if there were problems in any one area or any 10 areas, you'd have others that would hold the relationship together. The importance of the success of building multiple ties, and it wasn't entirely contrived by the American side or by both sides. It happened. There's no substitute for communication. Well, I've got real Chinese friends that have been my friends for 35, 40 years. I don't forget they're Chinese. They don't forget I'm an American. But I don't doubt the sincerity of what they tell me. I think they believe me. That creates an ability that's hard to replicate. We've solved far more problems than remain unresolved. That's a source of experience. That's a source of confidence. That the problems that are out there, why would you think they are impossible of solution when we've already done all of these other things? It may be partly a function of age, and having been through a whole lot of ups and downs in the relationship. Am I concerned about the relationship? Yes. Am I worried about the relationship? No.